All right, so here is our class project as of where we left off on Thursday of last week. So I'm going to prepare this for GitHub. All right, so the first thing I want to do is set up a git ignore file to ignore the files that we don't care about. Okay.
So should we do this
on your project? No, on your project. Okay. Because the next step is I'm gonna clone into all of your repos, at least the people who couldn't get the code working. We're gonna debug everyone's project. I want to go through all the problems, go through all the concepts, make sure that everyone understands all the interlocking pieces. So, all right, so the first thing we're going to do is create a git ignore file. Basically meaning we don't want to commit all of it to GitHub, just we want to ignore certain pieces. So we definitely do not want to commit the node modules. So we want to open up the git ignore and just put in node modules.
Do you want to put in like a .env or anything?
Yeah, let's get that out of the way. That's a good
Just
idea.
in case you end up doing that.
Yeah, we're going to do it. We're definitely going to do it. So we may as well get that out of the way. So Forrest is saying let's create an environment variable sort of manifest file. So that's touch.env. But we want to ignore that as well. So .env.
What's the difference in the syntax here between the slashes and just using dot?
Well, this is just literally the name of the file.
That is, what is it, dot in actual file?
Okay. Let's see here. All right, everything else will commit. So let's create a Git repository out of it. So Git init. Now we're going to add all the files to the repository, except the ones that are going to get ignored. So this means add all the files, except whatever is specified in the git ignore. Do a quick status check. You should see a bunch of green lines. Okay, and make sure you don't see the files we told it to ignore. Those should not be there. Okay. And then we want to commit that first change. Usually people call it initial or initial commit. So this is the comment, the commit message. That's what the -n flag stands for, message. So you should see all this happen. So now it's version controlled. So this will change our development process. Whenever we make a change that we want to save, we need to commit that change. Okay, so our development process will now include proper commit messages. Okay, everyone with me? And then go to GitHub. Create new repository. Give it the name that corresponds to your project. Create the repo. You want to copy this line right here, the second to last one. Just copy that. Paste that back into your terminal. And now we've connected our local repo to the remote. That's where you make the connection. And then we just push it up. That command will take the local repo and push it up to the remote. And when you're done, you should see this. Okay. And then if you go back to your github.com and just reload that page, this should no longer be there, and it should show the contents of your project. Everyone good? Okay, so now that the project is on everyone's repo, we can all just share it. We can all just look at each other's code. So I'm going to start with Forest.
Can you just go back? What was the last step in the terminal?
Sure. Right here. Right here.
Get removed.
Oh, we get that. And then if you don't click readme, you don't do anything else in your creation stage, then it'll give you like a roadmap on how to do it. But if you add a readme there or anything else like that, or get ignored, it like will not show you all those things, which is kind of annoying. So if you don't even have that screen when you created a new code, you saw the directions.
Oh, you're saying you saw those directions if you.
If you don't create, yeah, like if it's like it gives you the option to create a readme, gives you an option to do different things. If you don't do those things, then when you do click create, it'll give you a little roadmap on all the terminal commands.
Oh, okay.
If you do add a readme or other things, that will be a problem.
Okay, I think that was it.
Okay, so I'm going to go around the room and just clone into your repo if you didn't get it fully working, which, I mean, don't be embarrassed. Pretty much, I'm guessing that's almost everyone. So we're going to go through all the code and debug everyone's project, get everyone's code to a level where it's stable. Okay, so Forrest, did you get your code working?
Yeah, there's one thing one of the resources isn't loading after I post it.
Let's do it. All right, let's get on to it. So,
yeah, it's a pinned repository online.
So
it's just Forest Filler. Or GitHub/Forest Filler.
yeah, I see you on here all the time. So. There we go.
There it is. Yeah. Oh, I'm starring stuff. Oh boy.
Nice.
Really creepy stuff. Yeah, so HTH mock, if you just do that one. That's the project.
Okay, so you're building off a project you started a while ago.
Right. This is when
Okay.
I
Oh, yeah,
built,
I think actually
and then I took it in and integrated it with React and made other changes.
Understood. Okay. So here's what I want everyone to do. I want everyone to clone into the repo with me. Okay. Learning how to read other people's code is an extremely important skill. So this is a good exercise. We're all going to go through it. We're all going to run the code. We're all going to try and debug. And then once we get it working, Forrest will commit to the code, and we'll just move on to the next one. Okay? So that's how we're going to do this. So everyone click on this clone or download right here. Copy the remote URL.
Is it just git clone on the desktop, right?
Yeah, go back to your shell and navigate to wherever you do your work, and then git clone.
Yeah, maybe I should pull all the theme-related things out of there.
Wait, so you go to clone and copy that. Not open the desktop, but copy
I'm just going
add
HTH
things
mock.
there.
Yeah, copy it and then run this command in your terminal.
You got to copy the green button.
Okay. So I have his project right here. If I open it up in Sublime, here it is. Now in Forest's case, the node modules are committed right there. Right? So let's discuss this right now. He has to git ignore, and I'm not trying to point you out or anything,
No,
but
that's fine.
let's discuss like how to deal with this.
Totally.
So the node modules is properly listed in the git ignore. However, they are still in the repo. Something's off about that. So what happened is the node modules must have been committed before we specified the git ignore file, which means you have to remove it and then commit the change again. So if I remove watch what I do right here. If I remove the node modules entirely, and then I do a status check, it'll tell me I deleted all this, right? And then I do git add period. I want to commit that change. Okay, so we should all be doing this, and Forrest, you should definitely be doing this because you're actually going to commit this change.
Yeah.
So we want to commit that, and we do git status again, and then they all become green. That means the change has been properly registered, but now we want to, we want to add it. Now we want to commit it, and then remove node modules. Like that. Commit the change right here. Okay?
You're welcome to make a pull request.
I think we can handle this pretty right now. So now I've committed that change. Okay, so if I do git status, now here's how you know if it worked or not. You see the node modules? I put them on the desktop. You see that? If I put it back in the project, it will now be ignored. So if I go back to the terminal and do git status, it won't pick up on any of it except this thing called DS store. We'll get rid of that in a second.
Yeah, I love that.
So
I'm getting a hold of it.
you did that with his file and you committed it?
Yeah, so this is a very common situation. I'm showing you how to deal with a situation where you have a file or a directory that you committed that you didn't mean to.
Okay.
That's what happened just here.
But we're doing that with his?
Yeah, because I want to go through all these problems that just come up.
Okay.
Like these are things that come up all the time. So we are now working on Forrest's project, and we want to spend some time on this, get it working, get it stable, and then move on to Ryan's project.
You might wanna look up what that error message means.
The git process
Good.
seems to be running in this repository.
Do you run npm install when you download it?
Yeah. So
You do?
-d?
not yet. Just don't run it. Just do literally what I do, because I'm just showing you how to deal with scenarios that come up over and over and over again. So I'm sure when we clone into Ryan's or Rob's or JD's, we're going to have a whole different set of problems. But these are all common scenarios. Okay, and it's important to understand how to deal with these situations. Okay. So now, Forrest, did you get this working?
Excuse me?
Did you get this working?
You mean the git stuff?
So now we have a change here that we don't really care about. The DS store doesn't really matter. Actually, we should put this in the git ignore as well, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. So just copy and paste that in. And we want to ignore this. This shouldn't even be here. So if there's an unstaged change, and this is called an unstaged change, but we want to just wipe it out. The way you do it is git checkout -- period like that. And this command will remove any unstaged changes that you actually don't care about. So if I press enter and then git status. Okay, that didn't work. Let me try it again.
This always has like a catch. Git something, I don't know.
Or did you commit this? Right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just start from there.
Yeah, doing it. Yeah, sometimes it's easier almost just to start getting to the response repository.
All right. I don't know why it's not working. We'll get back to it later.
I spent some time on Stack Overflow. Sometimes it's like a cache that the Git has. You
Yeah.
just have to like make a change with that and stuff like that. But it's whatever.
Okay. Anyway, go back to your desktop. Now what we're going to do again is we're going to pull from Forrest's repo again. Okay, this time I want to make sure all the proper files are set up. So we're going to take the project here and toss it, junk it. Okay, Forrest, did you push or change?
Yeah.
Okay, so now if we go back to Forrest's repo, and clone again, the node module should not be there this time. That is the objective right now. Okay.
maybe we should remove some of the CS stuff from that theme project because it's kind of large.
Let's just take one at a time. We might end up just doing all this again for the theme, but let's see what happens. Okay, so now you'll see that when you clone into it, the node modules are no longer there. That's what we want. Okay? And oh no, we actually do want all these. There's just a bunch of images in here that we just don't want to use. But don't worry about it for now. It's not important for now. Okay, so how are we doing so far? All right. So now once you have the project cloned onto your desktop, you CD into it. Obviously, we do want the node modules. You just have to, you acquire them through the npm install. So we do right now, we all should do npm install. Okay? And then that will install the node modules just like on demand right now. But any new file changes will not be committed from that directory.
This should take a few minutes.
Yeah, usually 1 to 2 minutes. It's not too long, but a minute or two.
Isn't it like when we were doing like installing the dev dependencies and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So when we just do npm install, is that only?
Good question. So what Ryan's asking is, when we're running npm install right now, how does it know where to put what? So all that's in the package.json right here. So in the package.json in Forest project, he's got this list of dependencies and this list of dev dependencies. It's already been sort of demarcated, like which one goes where. It's been organized already when Forest set it up initially. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, it would be like doing npm installs for each one of these individually. It just does them all at once.
It does everything that you've already specified in your JSON.
Correct.
I mean your package.
Yes, that's correct. That's why when we do npm installs, we do npm install -s. That's why we do that, so it shows up over here. And now we are taking advantage of that right now. Okay.
And so, like, when we first start a project, most of those dependencies are coming because we're using the Express generator.
I wouldn't say most. It's less than half. It's like the first 5.
Yeah.
Up until HJS.
We specify.
Because we never specify ourselves, so when you do npm install, that's where it's coming.
The generator gives us that. It literally generates the initial package. Okay, good. So now we have our clone.
I
Yep.
just got an unmet dependency.
For which one?
When I did npm install into HTHMod, it says unmet dependency on a couple of them.
Is your node up to date?
Yeah, it might be your npm. Try the following npm-v, and tell me which one you have.
I have 2.15.9.
Yeah, that's probably the reason. So look up node npm upgrade.
Do you have Homebrew installed?
Oh,
Just type in brew. Just type in brew space install.
You good?
No. You just see what it says. Is it doing anything? Oh, that's it. Well, I don't know. Homebrew is great.
Okay, so normally at this point, you're looking at somebody else's code base. You want to just look at the code, figure out how he's doing what. We're all doing the same architecture, so it should be pretty clear right off the bat. So let's go ahead and run the Mongo server. Run the nodemon. Oh, okay, so here, right here, it's saying that we need the .env file
Oh, I see.
right here.
Right.
So don't forget the .env is not version controlled. Okay, so that's deliberately ignored, otherwise it would defeat the purpose. So normally what happens is we just create a .env and we get the config variables from the project maintainer manually, like email or whatever, or on a Slack channel or something like that. Okay, so right now let's create a .env file.
Okay, there you go. Might be my.env is blank.
Okay, everyone create a .env file. Is it blank?
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I just kind of scaffold stuff out.
Okay. And then run the node mon again. So now we're getting a clean run. Now we're good to go. So this error message means you need the MD. So I'll put it in there.
No, it was when you were problem, but I can't really determine if it did.
You can't,
What?
Mongo won't connect.
It's weird because
What is that? Whatever is already in use. Oh, shut down your Mongo. So I don't have. So try this command.
No, you are running it. You just don't realize it. In the worst case scenario, just restart your computer.
Try this command. Kill all Mongo. In say in space, just in the terminal. Space until you short. Yeah. Kill all space Mongo. Kill all the monsters.
I feel like I'm doing more harm than good.
Yeah.
Just restart the computer, Rob. Like that's you have Mongo running somewhere. Just restart it.
Happens to mine, so I just really kill it.
Well, the real answer is don't forget to shut down Mongo. So like right here, I got Mongo running right here. I should never just click out of the terminal before I shut this down.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll stay running, and you won't know that's running, and it'll just keep on blocking your ports. So just don't forget to shut it down. That's all.
Pocket install something to get that. No, well, I just like Mongo command. Just yeah.
Let's go to the activity monitor thing too and kill it. Do that a lot.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even realize that was an option. The activity monitor.
I always leave the thing right here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, right here.
Mongo.
Yeah, that's your best shot.
I forgot about that. That's old school.
Thanks for telling me, Ryan. Never even occurred to me. Could have been telling people this for a year. All right. So do we have the project running locally? Okay. So let's see how it looks.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, very nice. So, Forrest, what was the problem? Where did things break down?
So when I add, so basically whenever I'm not getting, whenever I add a new project, which I'm calling an entry on the left, it doesn't show up.
It does not show up. Okay, so if I do this right here, first project, this is the first project. What are the types that you support?
So, different kinds of things like energy or safety.
Never assume. Like, we don't know. The answer is we don't know.
It's called mock.
Okay.
But
So if I press add project, okay, excellent. So let's debug this. We're getting a good console log here. Entries line 39, very good. And now we're getting this error over here. Can I read property title of undefined entry line 15? All right. So at this point, we go to entry line 15. So that would be in the components. That's probably a presentation. Yep. And then on line 15, it says entry style.title. You see that? So according to the error message, this entry style object is undefined. Right? That's what it's saying right here. So this error message, it's quite literal. It says, cannot read property title of undefined. So what that means is this title property is right now referencing an undefined object. So the entry style is undefined. Okay, so in other words, something's wrong here in line 7. That's where the problem is. You see that? And line 7 references the styles object from line 2. And line 2 is referencing this file right here. So if we open up styles.js, we want to entry style. So styles.entry right here. So this is defined. Styles.entry. That's good. Okay, so this actually looks like it's running properly for me. It might actually be this guy right here. This.props.current entry. So
Maybe I need to capitalize that. Camel case.
that might be it right here. So let's, before we go ahead and test that, we shouldn't just blindly test that. We want to see where this property is defined in the first place. So there's probably an entries container. And then if we see where the entry is being, the entry component is being defined, the property is being named current entry with a capital E. Right, that's the name of the property. So here, this property is in fact undefined. According to the debugger, this is accurate. It's undefined. Now at this juncture, what I would do, we certainly need to uppercase that. What I would do is I would check the backend.
It's either entry or comments. Comment or entry.
Entry or comment.
Entry or comment. Yeah.
All right, so now we have another problem. The actual API didn't even post, right? Let's take it one at a time. So we have current entry here, here, and here.
I don't think we did post it from the front end.
Okay, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah, but if you do this,
Oh,
you'll see the JSON of global host API JSON.
Okay, now before I go ahead and test this, what do I have to do? What's one more thing I have to do? Run the Webpack, exactly.
Can it work without that? I always just run it now, so.
Webpack is what builds the code, right? So we have to run the Webpack and then try again. First project. This is the first project. Energy. Beautiful. All right. So got the problem solved. All right. So on to the next one. So let's get rid of this.
That's right, please do. I'll save it. Come check it in a month. I'll save it now.
I'll work on it too.
No,
So we
actually,
just do
yeah.
pull requests.
Then fork it.
Yeah, before getting to play around.
Okay. So for our project is now stable. It's ready to go. Ryan, what's your GitHub handle?
/ Brian AAB.
Like that.
Yeah. And / application tracker.
Oh, this is the DOD thing you're doing?
No, this is it's supposed to be you can add like jobs that you might want to apply for on one side, and then eventually it's like
Before we go ahead and put into this, were you able to get the project fully up and running?
yeah. The only thing is it's not styled at all, so we'll see.
No style?
I have like bootstrap to comments with the style that components.
Okay, but your code is stable.
Yeah.
Then we don't need to do it. So I just want to make sure I'm following your GitHub profile. So Angela, what about you? What's your GitHub?
It's Angela Sherwood, SCERES.
Okay.
Um,
This guy?
yeah.
All right.
I mean, I haven't gotten to the point where the form is it.
Okay. Let's
But I guess we can take a look at where.
yeah, let's go through. This is good practice for everyone, so it's worthwhile to go through. So everyone, go get on the profile on the repo, follow her on your account, and let's clone into it. Let's get started. So go to your workspace and clone into it. Once you have it on, You're in work environment, open it up. Good, so the node modules are already not committed, that's good. Yeah, I don't think we have anything else committed. Excellent, all right, so we can just go ahead and run the npm install, so let's go ahead and do that. So once you plug into it, go into the project, run the npm install.
Do I need to do that as well?
You probably already have it, because
Okay.
you're probably working on it, you've been working on it for a while. All right, good. Open up another tab, run the Webpack, just for good measure. Okay, so here, look at what happened here. This is another problem. In another tab, if you run Webpack, it doesn't execute. So who can identify the problem here? So how do we resolve this issue? Install Webpack. Yeah, locally. So what should I do here? npm,
-B.
right, Webpack.
Is this something that I missed?
Yes, so this is something you should definitely do, because you're the one who's actually committed. But this is all good practice for us, because these are things that come up in every project. Just somebody forgot to commit a module, you know, it's pretty common stuff. So, yep.
But if Webpack was working, how come this was?
Because you do have it on your side, but because it wasn't committed to the package.json, we didn't get it on our side. Does that make sense?
So we have to install it, right?
Right. And then we try it again. And what happened here? Yeah, same issue, different module, right? So at this juncture, what you want to do is look at the no, just run the install. So now we got to run Babel, right? So right here, it's saying it's looking for a module, but has not been installed. So go ahead and install it. And then we try again.
Yeah,
So
I
now
think
we
you
got
need to
Babel
restart.
full. Yeah, I know, but we're going through every single step, and we go literally one at a time. I've done this thousands of times. I know, but I'm trying to show you how the thought process goes. Okay, so we tried the Webpack again, and then now it says we were missing Babel core, so we install Babel core.
And every one of these I should commit,
Correct.
right?
I would just do it as one big commit, saying a bunch of other modules, but.
Okay, very good.
But these sort of small problems show up in every single project. So you need to just be aware, like this, not everything is just going to work out of the box. In fact, that's extremely rare. And if it does just work out of the box, you're working with an extremely simple beginner project. Right? Anything beyond beginner grade, you're going to deal with small things, little ticky-tack stuff like this all day. Just all day. You got to be ready for it. You got to know how to handle it. So here. Now we're missing Babel core.
All right, thanks.
It's all right.
Babel.
No, we did Babel loader.
Yeah, because when I type tab package.json,
Oh. The node API for Babel has been moved to Babel core. Okay, so now you want to run Babel loader right here. Okay.
The 2015 ES.
Yeah, we're still missing some more modules now. So yeah, let's just go through them all now because I think we all get the idea. So npm install Babel preset React. npm install Babel preset ES 2015. And then there's two more after this. Can anyone guess? Actually, no, she's got one of them already, so there's only one more after this.
Yeah, Bob.
Yep. And so now the Webpack build is successful, but what's going on here? Super agent. So let's get that guy inside. And let's try it again. Beautiful. So now what we want to do is we want to have Angela commit all the changes and push it to her branch, push it to her repo, excuse me. So Angela right now commit all the changes and push it to your repo. What we're going to do is we're going to junk this. We're going to toss this project and reclone into her repo. So now that when we reclone, the npm install should do the entire trick. Does that make sense? That's the goal first. Question?
Just want to put Mongoose in there as well since we're installing it.
So it's not in there?
Yeah, if you check the package.
Oh,
So that's is that throws an error in my notes?
yeah, you're right. So Forrest actually caught one more. It's a good snipe, Forrest.
Yeah,
So we gotta do Mongoose, npm I that's Mongoose.
It's just the note. It's just my note on that one.
Okay, all right, thanks. So this is the last one. Don't forget, or it's really just Angela. Don't forget it. And then we're gonna reclone into her repo, and then we're gonna do it all again. But this time, if we did our job right, when we reclone into her repo, the install should take care of the whole thing. It should just be a clean install. Okay, and this is why we do -s and -d. This is now you're seeing why we use -s and -d. Okay, this is why to deal with this exact scenario.
Why do you do that?
So when you do npm install, it does the depth dependencies and the regular?
Yeah.
What, I guess why is it that?
So when we actually deploy to a server, actually send it to production, these guys don't go with it. These guys stay behind.
So it's really all about knowing which ones already live on a server.
Well, none of them live on a server, but like the server is going to run the package installs, but the server will ignore these. These don't actually need to be run on the server. We just use these to compile code. That's all it does. These are tools. The server doesn't need these tools. The server needs these guys to literally run the project. Like without super agent, you can't make API calls, right? The server will not be running, well, sometimes it does, but for now, the server will not be running Webpack and Babel and whatnot. That's not always true. In fact, we're going to change that soon, but for now, this is fine. Okay, so Angela, let me know when you're ready, and then okay, so take the current project and toss it. Go back to Angela's repo. Copy the remote, and clone again. CD into the project and run npm install. So obviously the bigger and more complex the project is, the more difficult just the setup process is. And to give you some frame of reference, whenever I take on a new assignment, I say devote 3 days just for me to set up your damn project and learn what's going on. In other words, I bill 3 days of where I do no actual coding. All I'm doing is getting your project to work, getting the database to work, getting the code to compile, getting all the right dependencies to build, getting everything set up, and then learning your architecture. I literally say budget 3 days for that. So we're doing this in 3-4 minutes. That's nothing. That's nothing. This is par for the course. All right, you should expect this. So it's not going to be often the case early on where you're given an assignment where you build everything from the bottom up, and that creates sort of a false sense of security. Really, what's going to happen is you're going to inherit a project that most likely sucks, and then you're going to have to get that thing to run, get it to work, and then clean it up. That's pretty much, I would say, 75% of my work in the past 5 years. And the other 25% was a fun, like, build it from scratch. Here's the idea, build it from scratch.
How much time do you say to commit to learning what that code is?
Well, the bigger the project, the more time. So, like the current project I'm doing, they just put me on another big section of the project, which is basically a whole separate project under the same company. And I just told them, like, give me 2 days of I'm just going to look at code for 2 days. I'm not going to commit anything until probably Thursday. And that's 2 like 5-6 hour days. And just tinkering around, getting the build process to work, getting the dependencies to build, getting everything set up. He's got Angular in certain parts and React in other parts, and then just regular Django files in other parts. The code's a huge Frankenstein mess of different like frameworks. That's basically what happens when you hire too many different people to work on it. That's what happens. So you get one team does it one way, they fire that guy, get another team. They have their own different set of techniques and libraries. 3 weeks, they fire that guy. Like, that's what happens. And this is like an extremely typical scenario. So just getting the project to work is a challenge. Like, literally is a challenge. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that. So now that we have everything installed, if I open up a new tab and run Webpack now, we should get a clean build. Now we have a clean build. Right? We didn't do anything. It just worked out of the box. Does that make sense? That means Angelo's commits were good. Everything's ready to go. This is a clean install. By the way, if you're like when junior devs reach out to me looking for like an internship type of thing, which happens pretty much every summer when kids come home from college, first thing I do is I look at the repo. If I clone into it, I don't get a clean build right out of the repo. I'm like, this guy's out. Like, he didn't even take care of that consideration. Right? If I have to do a ton of work to get your build running, like for a sample project, right? Just that you're out right off the bat. You're going to create more problems than solutions. That's a guarantee. If you're right off the bat, you're giving me repos that don't build right off the bat. So be highly conscious of that. It's a big thing. So now that we have that working, let's run the Mongo server, and then let's run NodeMon. Cool, very nice. This is clean, and then let's run the local host. Okay, beautiful. Is this what you expect to see? All right. Are there any problems? Anything not working the way you want it to?
No, I think I'm just moving along and getting everything set up.
Okay.
Like we did with the previous project, so I haven't gotten.
Okay, so there are no bugs. It's just a matter of progress.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there were some bugs that came up along the way, but
Okay.
everything up to this point seems to be working.
Let me ask you guys this: is this coming from the back end or is this hard coded? How do you know?
Well, we didn't put it in.
And we didn't enter.
We all
Yeah,
have the same
we all have different backends,
Oh, and we see the information.
right? And all of our backends are different and empty, more importantly. So we should not be seeing the same thing, right? So it's pretty definite that we don't have the same database. That would just be a really big coincidence, right? So this must be hard coded,
Mongoose wasn't installed in.
right? I'm just going to poke through the code for a minute or two. I just wanted to see.
I found like I'm not too sure if you get to it yet, but I found two problems with it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I played around with it.
Yeah, let's. I mean, I don't want to put you on the
Yeah.
spot or anything, but let's find some areas that I would reconsider. So this looks like an apartment listing or like a real estate
Yeah.
type of thing. Okay. So price should be a number.
Yeah. I was just wondering if you wanted to have like it formatted.
Oh, that would happen on the front end.
Okay.
So price should be a number. By making it a number, we can run database queries and filter by price, saying give us the most expensive first or give us the cheapest ones first, right? And conversely, zip code should be a string because the numerical value of a zip code itself doesn't really carry any significance. It's not like 10012 is less important than 10013, right? The zip code is essentially the same thing as an email. It's a string identifier of a geographic zone. So to filter by zip code would be kind of a strange thing. Like, give me all the Manhattan zip codes in increasing order, right? I mean, you could do that. It would just be a weird request.
But if you wanted to sort the listings by zip
Yeah, like in increasing order of numerical significance.
code.
Like that's kind of it's sort of an arbitrary filtering mechanism, right? I think like finding all the Manhattan zip codes or zones, geographic zones, by population size would be a more natural search filter, or like by median income, right? That would be a more natural search filter. To just search all the geographic zones of Manhattan by zip code increasing order is kind of like, what is the information contained in that? Right? It's just sort of an arbitrary filtering mechanism.
Wouldn't that show each zip code and what listings are in there? So if you don't know what zip code you want, you just want to see what's there.
Yeah, you can just say like in 10012 what apartments are available. But my point is that the zip code is not of numerical significance, like your age, your weight. These are numerically important values, right? The zip code itself is just a string value. So this takes a little bit of like, I don't know, just getting used to.
Makes sense though, because you wouldn't, like you're saying, you could sort by price value, but you wouldn't sort
Right.
by value.
That's the thought process that goes into deciding what data types to put in here. Okay. Owner. I mean, this is more of a personal thing. I wouldn't say this is right or wrong, but I generally go full words here, telephone or phone. That's just being nitpicky. But however, same thing. It's not really a number. It's more of a string, right? Because again, the numerical value of a phone number numerically doesn't carry any significance. It's just a unique identifier. It's basically a collection of numbers that uniquely identifies your device. And that's essentially what it is. The actual numerical value, well, what's a phone number? 10 digits? Yes, 3, 6, 3, 3, and 4. 10 digits, right? So what is that? That's like 10 million? Or I don't know. Like that's in the tens of millions, I think. Whatever it is. Let's say it's about 10 million or 100 million. Like numerically, it doesn't really matter, right? Like if my phone number is 203 whatever and your phone number is 909 whatever, is your phone number more valuable than mine? Like the numerical value of the number carries very little, if any, significance, right? So it's more of a string. It's basically just a name for your phone. You can think of it as like a name for your phone. That's your phone number. So this is really a string. Okay. Other than that, though, you said the code is stable, so we'll consider this done. But the package installs were a good exercise. Things like that happen all the time. So let's move on to the next one. So I'm going to shut this off. All right, Katie, you're up.
Okay.
What's your GitHub?
KATYVON KATY
KATYB.
VON KATY, and then it's under babysit.
Oh, I am following. All right, let's do it all again. Let's clone into the repo.
How big you want
Yeah, just
Oh,
go
that's
to
good.
just go to a repo.
Zero.
Just cd into the project, run the npm install.
It's under the deletion. You just call it a repository.
Cool. And then open up the project. Just poke around, see what's going on inside. Great. Got the node modules. Package.json looks pretty good. Webpack, etc. Entry point. Nice. All right. So let's run the Webpack. I don't want to turn it off. Run the Webpack. Let's hope we get a clean build out of this, which we do. And let's give it a run. So run Mongo. Ooh, NodeMon gave me a crash. So what's the crash here? So what did we forget? Install Mongoose. Very good. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's try again.
So if all these apps like were working, you know, we download them and said like, oh, they're missing Mongoose. Is like, there a global copy on someone's computer? Like how?
What do you mean?
Like on their apps, your guys' apps were working, right?
Yes.
And then when we download them, we don't
Oh no.
have-
So what happened was, so whenever Katie installed Mongoose, and I don't mean to point you out, but whenever you did that, you forgot to do the -s. So it did not show up in here, in the package.json. It was not in here, right here, until we just did it manually. So then if you clone into the repo and just run npm install with no specifications, it'll just go through this entire list and download everything one at a time. However, this guy wasn't on the list. Does that make sense? So she had a local copy, but it was not in the package.json. So did you commit that?
I did. Oh,
Yeah.
no. Do you want me to
Yep, push it up. Yeah, commit the change, push it up. Okay, let me know when you're ready, Katie.
Okay, go.
Okay, so now we're gonna do all that again. We're gonna junk this our current version. Go back to Katie's repo and do it all again. This time the npm install should be complete. It should install all the required modules. And that's essentially the goal. So go back to your desktop. Run the install. I'm sorry, run the clone. cd into the project. And now the npm install. So Ryan, this is the part that's key to understand. When I press enter here, it'll go through all the package.json dependencies. And this time Mongoose will be there. So it'll download all the required modules to at least run the project.
Good question.
Yep.
Is there a reason why Slimes wouldn't bring the changes?
Come again?
Like you said,
Oh, you can pull. Yeah, you can do that. I just want to. The idea here is to make sure that you get a clean install on a fresh run. Like the initial clone should give you a clean run. Because remember, if you don't do that, that's like right off the bat. It's a very bad first impression. Like you want to make sure that the clone gives you a clean run. So now if I run Webpack. The Webpack build is good. Run Mongo. Yeah, but to answer your question, Angela, yeah, you could just do it that way too. Run NodeMon. How is that possible?
Yeah.
Let's find out. So it's not here though. So let's check the commits. Okay, so Katie, you probably committed it but didn't push it.
No, it says I pushed.
Because these are your commits right now.
I see what you're saying. I'll push again.
Yeah, try it again.
It says everything but the code.
So like, did you add commit and push?
Then git log.
Okay.
Is that a master?
It doesn't say it in here. In git log.
Yeah, try the following: git status.
On branch master, your branch is up to date. Nothing to commit.
Okay. Maybe you lost your.
Yeah, let's get this working. NPM dash capital S and then monkey.
So I did npm install mongoose.
That's the problem. Dash S is the problem. So now that we see here, now we're good to go.
Okay, so
So now
now
we
you
do
can.
it.
Okay.
So commit all that, push it up.
Can I get in the car? Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's up.
Okay, so this is what I was waiting to see, right? So it's 14 seconds ago. That means that's clearly the most recent commit, right? So what we're going to do, this time we're going to do it Angela's way, just to show you how to do it. So here, before we pull from a branch, we have to remove any unstaged changes. So you see this red line? It can't be there. We won't be able to pull as long as this red line is there. So what you do is you do git checkout, like that. So this will clear out any unstaged changes. Just basically revert those changes back. Now that we've done that, we should have a clean working directory. So now that we have a clean working directory, now we can pull the changes directly from the repo. So now we do git pull origin master. Okay, and it'll show you the file that changed. So only one line change in the package.json. That's exactly what we expect, right? That's the mongoose adjustment. So now if I run npm install, now we're good to go. You see how it only installed mongoose? That's it. So npm goes through the package.json and just looks for whichever one it needs. And right now it's just mongoose. Okay. And then if we run nodemon, now we're in business. Good?
So my issue is I can get the profiles to submit, but for some reason the reviews won't submit.
Okay. So profile, left side, review on the right side. So let's do that. So if I do a profile, is it?
Monday.
They're all Ks.
Is it? Oh, you're right.
That's their thing. That's their schema. They all use Ks.
Oh.
That's funny.
So when I press submit, what is supposed to happen?
Will pop up.
It should pop up?
Yeah,
Okay.
well,
Good. All right, that's good. And then, but now here you're saying this doesn't work.
yeah.
Okay, so when I
So
I think I figured it out by that.
I don't
Really?
see any effort.
Well, that's
Because it doesn't
I
mention
understand that.
doesn't
Like I
mention
didn't
schema.
Oh,
really
you
fix
just haven't
that.
had
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I
I
think
really-
it's nice.
Because I don't think that mentions your schema. Like when you look at your.
Is what?
Okay, so when I press submit review, you're saying something should pop up, but that's
Yeah.
not happening.
Correct.
So when I do that, I'm seeing the same behavior. Let's check the console.
That's for the left side, that's for the profile.
Update profile is not defined.
Oh, you can call it update profile and your review scheme.
No, that's on the left side.
Yeah, that's on the left.
Okay. So when I press submit review, nothing pops up over here. So let's debug this. So okay, so profiles and reviews, is that correct? Okay. So we want to find, here is our review. So this is the right side. Okay. Okay, so here you put a console log, submit review, when you submit a review. However, we're not even seeing that, right? In other words, that function is never being called at all. So let's get to the bottom of that problem. So
Also, I mean, the component doesn't mount either, right?
Oh, that's true.
So that means it's not even mounted.
yeah, maybe it doesn't. Yeah, right here, you're right. Well, let's double check that. Well, that's
But that's
profiles,
profiles.
not reviews. All right, let's see here. Okay, so we have the reviews right here.
You submit a different code. Let's just see.
Interesting. All right, we got another problem right here. See where's the super agent? Not defined. Profiles line 27.
The super agent hasn't been installed.
Yep. So let's go ahead and import that.
Is that the problem?
Well, it's certainly a problem. We may as well take care of it. And let's try it again. Okay, so now it's saying you can't find the module. So what's the issue here?
It's not installed.
Yeah, npm install. So now we got npm install super agent.
Do you have to close all your servers, Dan, before you do that, or can I just do it?
Just do it.
And what's the difference between doing an S and a D?
So when you do S, it goes in here. When you use D, it goes in here. Dev dependent. D stands for dev dependencies. Now, what's the distinction? The dependencies in here will get deployed to the server. These will go up with the project. These guys stay behind. They don't go up with it. So now we run nodemon again. Profiles. Did I spell it wrong? Oh, profiles. Wrong one.
Oh. Do you import super agent at the top of reviews?
So like, it seems like there's a mismatch between the fields you have on the review section on the index page, and you can go and add in review information.
Okay.
That doesn't even match up with your actual schema for reviews.
So now we have to, let's just do one problem at a time. So here, we have super agent not defined in the reviews component as well.
Right.
Let's take care of that. We got this problem solved, so that's good. This is what we want to see, the API call in super from profiles. So that import has been taken care of. So now let's go to the reviews component and run the same import. Bless you. And if we reload, very nice. Now we're seeing the super agent calls from both components. No more errors, everything is clean. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so now if we go to the reviews component for now, $38, no, 40. Okay, right here. It's not a big deal, but I'm going to stringify the response.body. Like that. Same thing on the other one, on the profiles component. Because although this is good, it's actually a bit too much. We're getting too much information here. So if we reload now we're seeing the actual payload, which is an empty array. That's a little bit more informative, right? Okay, so now we have a clean run. Very good. Everyone with me? So right here, I just console logged the body. It wasn't like a critical thing. It's just, it makes it easier to read. That's all. It wasn't like of any real coding consequence.
I did the super agent install, but
Katie, make sure you always work on your spacing. Always, always, always. So that should have been indented one level out.
Did you already fix the updated review thing on line 85, 86? Probably already did that.
What component?
Sorry, reviews.js. Maybe it was on line 85 or 6, update review versus updated review. Yeah, see where it's 85 says.
Yeah, we'll fix that in a second.
Awesome.
Oh, that works now.
Nice.
Thanks.
What?
The updated review now.
Oh, yeah. It's a good Easter egg hunt.
All right, well, Forrest found the critical error, so
It
Right
was
here.
just the
Updated
debugging
review.
log to find it.
yeah. I just wanted everyone to be together because
Sorry.
we're not all, like Rob, is your code working?
Yeah.
Okay. So Brian, Angela, you guys catch the mistake right here. Basically, updated review instead of update review. So if you reload that, now I should be able to post a review here. And that works. And then,
The availability doesn't work on this side, but I understand.
great. So this is the expected behavior, right? This is what you expected to see. Okay. What? That's it. We fixed all the problems. So, commit the change, push it up, make sure your code is stable.
for some reason I keep doing the install for super agent and it's not actually installing.
Oh,
Just-
you need a global. Oh, you don't
It's just
install
flat
that
out
global.
failing. Like, what is it doing?
It looks like it's installing it, but then it's not. Yeah.
successful
You-
when it's
You type
Guys,
readme
I'm
and
happy.
can you try to find that it's not?
What?
Have you tried
Where
creating
you
full
want to
files?
How so?
Like you know, maybe the local.
That's successful.
Slash
That's all I need.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think so.
what you need to remember,
I
it's
don't
very
know,
easy
my
to
name
get
is
is
Brittany.
that you're not running up any code until you run web. So
Great for a while.
as far as the React code is concerned, you can do anything. You gotta keep webpack, you can recompile everything,
It's not posting it.
No, I think he reloaded.
and that'll be updated.
I think he reloaded and just
So
posted.
that's why we keep, that's why I always keep webpack up. We
It
should
did
keep
work
it.
at one point. Hold on.
Now it's good to go. I'm gonna try it again.
Now you should see.
Oh, it's not even going in package JSON. That's a whole separate issue.
And I don't think it
Anyone making a murderer thing?
Yes, I heard.
I heard that wrong, but I wanted that to be something.
What happened?
Brendan Dassey's being released off people.
Did you watch the show?
Yeah, he's like the nephew.
Yeah.
From
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Brad looks just like him.
I'm making sure you don't have two copies of the project.
No, I think that here.
That doesn't happen.
What's that?
Oh, it works now?
That's very nice.
Yeah,
It's
which
like
is-
creepy.
this is the one-
Actually, it says to me the creepiest one. Very
So you
nice.
sure that's the one that's open?
Like open over in here.
What?
Try this time. Try getting rid of that.
Oh,
And just
I'll figure it out,
recopy
yeah.
Katie's project.
Delete this.
Yeah. And just recopy Katie's project.
Because she made all the changes.
Yeah, she pushed everything.
Okay. Yeah, I see, maybe you're saying that I had an older version.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
That could be it.
Those are very, very, very difficult to debug.
And sorry, but I didn't mean to. Remember, I just saw that one there.
Oh yeah, when I CD it, it says it's in the trash, like
Right.
CD dot dot.
That was definitely it. For she's messing everything up.
Yeah, I feel shitty start with that. Sure. And the next one. Yeah, of course not. Obviously not. But it's important to say. Oh man.
Rest assured, everything that's wrong, like I've seen it. Or I'm just trying to make sure everyone sees it with me at the same time.
Yeah.
She actually have a little hair, but you
Alright.
you want to see it.
Let's wait for everyone to get back here.
I was joking around that like when we first were doing the React installs, like dependencies, one or two of the Babel things, I thought my computer was gonna like explode. So today's been very rough on it.
Oh.
What do you mean? Wait.
So I'm like, keep tagging in a new computer and I have it. It just like starts spinning really hot. Uses like 100% CPU.
For the install?
One of the Babel installs. Or something.
yeah.
Only one of them.
Oh, it's ES 2015.
Yeah. So I have every time that today with like 6 of them. It's been,
You should upgrade your NPM.
yeah.
That'll take care of it.
Really?
So I'll tell you why it's happening. So the older version of NPM, 2 point whatever, check your version. You probably have a 2.6. Okay, so the older version, what it does is it takes your NPM install and recursively installs all the other submodules in every NPM. There's a ton of repetition there. But if you install like Babel and Babel Core, a lot of those dependencies overlap with Babel preset ES 2015. So NPM 3 will see what you already have. And so like, oh, you don't need this one, you don't need this one, you don't need this one, but you do need these. Whereas NPM 2, it'll say like, just give me all of it. I don't care if we already have it. So it'll download certain packages like literally 20 times.
Yeah.
And so your node modules directory is like 200 megs. It should really be like 60.
I'll do that right now.
Check your NPM directory size, your node modules directory size.
So where does it store them then if it's, oh, it just,
It's all in all the submodules. So if you open up your node modules, what's the directory size?
oh yeah, 500 megabytes.
That's look at mine, 33. Same project.
So can you just open yours?
Yeah. So I should have a lot more node modules directories than you.
No.
But then it knows to search different subfolders.
So what's happening is like this guy right here, ASAP. I downloaded it once. It's probably being used in 6 modules. Your directory downloaded all 6 times, over and over and over and over again. So, right. That's what's happening. So that was clearly inefficient. And that's why yours is so much bigger than mine.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It's like very subtle.
All right, you guys ready? So the moral of the story is upgrade your NPM because it really saves a lot of disk space, like by an order of magnitude. Like it's literally 1/10 the size, even like less. So for now, I'm going to consider Katie's project stable. I think we cleared out the most important stuff.
It's stable.
So let's move on to the next one. So all right, Rob, what's your
Stable?
no? What's your
Oh, sorry. Rob, ROBUNGAR.
this guy?
Yep. Spotify.
All right, everyone, do this with me. So clone into Rob's project. CD into it, run the install.
Forrest, I just saw you calling in.
Oh yeah, you can put GIFs in there. You can do lots of fun stuff. It's the best part about GitHub. It's like Facebook, but more fun. Because no one has any friends on it. Everybody's just as cool. You know?
All right, so let's try and run it. So we run the Webpack. Webpack is good. Run the Mongo, and then run the server. Great, clean run right off the bat. Excellent. And then let's go to the home page. Okay. Anything not working properly? What?
No, I just haven't gotten to the second one yet. So.
The second.
Second set, right side of the page.
What's going to go on the right side?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay. So everything works
Yeah.
the way you expect it to.
So far.
All right. Well, that was quick. All right, we're done with that.
Oh, interrupt.
You tried it.
I'm just trying to starting those. I know.
I'll just take your word for it. I'm not
Well,
going
you can try it.
No.
Just make sure I'm not stupid.
We've broken our hearts one too many times.
JD, what's your username?
JD Richards.
Okay, everyone with me? Right here? Git clone.
Are you in SAG?
CD into it, run the install.
SAG dash.
Do it, curl.
God, I wish the build processes for like my actual work is this clean and this fast. I literally start my day on my contract, like literally it's like a 15-minute build process. Like I just sit there like reading Reddit for 10 minutes and I bill for that time because hey, you're gonna write some project that takes 15 minutes to build. That's on you, not on me. So
If you run it and then you gotta take your shower.
build, yeah, exactly. Go grab a cup of coffee. Check my Facebook. All right, Webpack is good. Mongo is running. Server. All right. Anything here not work the way you expect?
Not work the way.
Is anything broken? That's just another way of saying. Is there anything broken here?
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, and then you'll tell me yes or no. That side works the way I want it to.
What side? Left or right?
Left side, the side where your in-house is.
Okay.
On the right side, I haven't coded it to do it yet. I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
So if I enter movie details,
Sure, go for
it will. Okay, so let's do that right now.
do it.
So it's really nice, Jay.
Yeah.
No, so that's a mess.
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot there.
Yeah, I think it's cool that it goes
No,
by
it's-
whatever
it's-
level.
Submit.
Oh, wow, that's, how did you make it?
Um, good question. You know why? It should go to the database. Give you a right. So now if you add another one, for example, add another movie. I was typing Tom Cruise and you typed back to me Top Gun Tom Cruise the other day.
Really? Great minds think alike.
Oh, I'm on that.
Oh, lead. Christopher. There's only one actress in this movie.
This is really good.
There's only one actress.
Of consequence. Like, well,
It's not long for this
oh, the girlfriend. Yeah, the girlfriend, right, yeah.
You know she's played by two different people in the first and the second.
Give me the names of one of the brethren. Oh, Elizabeth Banks, right?
What was this shit?
Elizabeth shit.
Oh, Christopher Lloyd.
He's
So glorious.
He's cool.
Cool.
He's the coolest dude.
So this works. All right.
Yeah,
That's
that
such a
works.
nice website.
It's
So
so
on
good.
the right side, I'll show you, because I couldn't know how to do that. So what's supposed to happen there before you do it is, whichever one you choose, that's what's supposed to populate the list. And it does, but I can't make it, I don't know how to make it go live. Like, okay, you want to pick Leah Thompson, since you picked lead actress. So type in nomination, Leah Thompson.
Okay.
Now click nominate. Okay, so now what I want it to do is I want to see it come up as lead actress, but refresh. See, it is in the database, but I guess it's a lifecycle method or something that I have to get it to also. That's a separate component to show in the component,
Did you look in there?
It's right
but
here.
you have to
You have
refresh.
to refresh to get that.
I want it to do like that. That's where it's not. So
Wait,
go
so
to-
I'm still not clear. So
Uh-huh.
lead actor. So if I put in so when I press nominate, what is supposed to happen versus what is happening?
So what's supposed to happen right now is it's supposed to go into the database. It's functioning correctly that way, but what I want to happen is for it to function where it shows immediately, just like that.
So visually, what is supposed to happen visually?
Right now, just an alert box.
So
That's all
it's
that's
success.
coded.
That's what happened. That's successful.
Okay, well then yeah, it's successful.
So when I press nominate, an
You
alert
should get
button,
an alert box.
and that's what you wanted to do.
Yes.
Okay. That's it. All right. So this is what you expected to see.
Mhm.
So I'm hearing that this is working.
I guess so.
You wanted to pop in the lead actor
Yeah, that's
box,
not
right?
doing what you
It's
want.
not coded though. It's not coded to pop into the box. I guess that's what I have to
So
figure out.
then,
Okay. All right.
Oh, I see. Right, nothing's broken. You just have completed that.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is like, did you try to code it so that it pops up here and that is failing to occur? That's a bug,
Gotcha.
as opposed to like we're just not there yet. So that's the distinction.
Would that be like in the on submit method?
No, we'll get to that. Yeah, we have time for that. We'll get to that. All right. So is there anything broken?
No, and you're
All right, let's go. All right, so let's move on to Pox.
That's really nice. Space Force Troop, looking forward to stealing your code. Thank you.
not what you see it.
Couple
I was
hours
making it work and then there's ugly.
Hey, I'm gonna open up the hood, see some dark things.
Yeah, fine, buddy. Yeah.
All right, guys, remember this is not for observation. Everyone do this with me. Everyone do this with me. We're all the idea is to go through other people's code. Okay, it's an extremely important skill. It's typically an uncomfortable experience that'll just never change. So just get used to it. Okay, so clone into it. Run the npm install.
Space bar is cheap. CG.
Try to build on Webpack. Okay, Webpack is good. Run the Mongo. Check the server. Homepage, very nice. Okay, so
Jeez.
Sorry. Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you so much. There's so many of those.
So,
anything?
yeah, what's breaking on it's on the left side.
Yeah.
If you submit it,
That's where you find
I have a
these
Google
nuts.
map, like when you put in locations. Wow.
So tell me what to do and tell me what's broken.
Can you fill out the right side?
Okay,
like-
it's right here.
Yeah, put like nyc.jpg
Okay.
and just put anything.
Activity.
Yeah.
Like what should I put in?
Oh, anything. You just put anything. Yeah, location. You can just put supposedly location over here.
Literally tell me what to type.
What's the location over here? I don't know. Let's put like 180 Bay 35th Street.
Thank you. 180 what?
Bay 35th.
Bay 35th.
Yeah, and 11214. 11214.
Okay.
And submit.
What's supposed to happen when
It's supposed to like show like the pictures of MIT and the Google map.
Is that happening?
It is happening, but it's not finding the location.
Okay, so when I press submit,
Yeah, flashes.
so that is not expected behavior.
Yeah.
So that's not what you expected to see.
On mine it shows. So
What doesn't it?
yeah, but on this I don't know why it is. So like, Google was like,
So let's open up the code. So we have books on the left side, activities on the right side.
it's on activity.
Excuse me, activities. Submit info is what happens when you hit the button. So here's submit info.
Online.
Okay. So when you submit the info, it updates the list. So what's the problem?
Oh, the problem is, like, I was trying to use the third party thing. I don't know why it's not showing over yours. It's like,
Just, let's try it again. Tell me what to type here.
just type in the same thing, same info, nyc.jpg.
Like this?
Audio JPG.
Okay.
And yeah, for sure. You can just type it in username. It's supposed
Tell
to
me what's
type
that.
in bang. JH just like 99.
Don't look at the other 75.
Yeah, you can just like other. 10s. 180. Bake of the fish tree. You can just put 1, 2.
This is what you typed on your end.
Yeah.
I don't think so, because you wouldn't have put Dan.
But I can just put anything. It
Okay.
is saved there.
So when I press submit activity, we're supposed to see a map here.
It's a map. Yeah.
Okay. So now it works.
Ooh. Wow, look at that, Brooklyn. It's beautiful.
But you see how I was trying to capture the data from the address?
From the address.
From the address. So I have can you go to what do you want to type in the form to go to that? Yeah. But I get a block. Can you go to
It's just like standard Times Square.
source, components, and go to
Maps?
wait, not map, sorry.
Go to what, Pop? Go to what?
Oh, go to like presentation, go to map. So I was trying to call component did map and using Google Map Client down to locations. That's where I got the block. Sets access control allow origin.
Or am I getting that too? Yeah, I mean, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's a good effort, but this isn't going to work on the
Isn't gonna
client side. You have to do this on the server side.
Okay.
So actually, we worked a lot on this, like on weeks 2 and 3, where you have to make an API call from the server. Remember we did that for SendGrid, Twitter, Yelp. We did server-side API calls to get this information.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to use that same technique. In fact, in this case, that's your only option. You have to make a server-side API call to make this API call, grab the data, and then have it return from your server onto the map. Don't do that tonight. But that's how you do this.
Got it.
So
Okay.
then you do a get server side and then do a get
Yeah, your
to
server
come to you.
is supposed to make this request for you. The client will always get rejected. Okay.
That should be done in the route, or that would be done in controller.
What do you think?
So now,
Yeah, we did that route.
Yeah, for a controller, it's for.
For making requests.
Well, this is a request. When do we use controllers?
When we make the
To make our
route request.
HTTP request.
Because this is also an HTTP
For
request.
for
For
our
CRUD,
API.
right, for our models.
For hours.
Are we making a request for one of our models here?
We're actually
No,
using someone else's.
correct. Right, so this does not belong in a controller. So you gotta give it that thought process. It's very clearly defined if you understand what the pieces are specifically for. So the controllers are for our models. Is this a request for one of our models? Incorrect. So this does not belong in a controller.
So you have to make like a maps route, maybe, and then do that.
Very
request
good.
there.
Right, or
Yeah.
Google API, whatever. But that's the correct way to handle that. That's correct. Good. Okay, so this is now working as you
Yeah.
expect. Good. Yep.
Since we encountered this issue where POX key is exposed, is there a way to remove that commits history in your host repository?
Yeah, well, remember, based on the solution I just articulated, this wouldn't even be here anymore. Right? This wouldn't even be on the front end. This would be on the server side.
Right.
So where does this really belong?
.env.
Yeah, the .env. And that doesn't go to GitHub.
But But I'm saying in the instance, because I've done it before, I'm sure people out here like this. What's the way to correct the situation on GitHub? Like, because I can go back and
There
your
are
other
like a
commit.
new commit where
You know what I'm
they
saying?
can
Oh,
go
you
back
want to
and
roll
use-
back your changes. A rollback is what basically a rollback is like undo these commits. So one way you can do that, I'm not going to get into it because it's
Just
going
curious,
to lose
super
some
quick.
time. But what you do is you have all the changes you made are saved on your local repo as well.
Yeah.
And you can just like pick like 5 changes back, like come back to here. That's called a reset.
Yep.
And then just push everything from there again. And so like everything afterwards, just come on, just get rid of it. That's how you reset.
Do that like .git/config. You go in there, or you actually just type in command for that to that certain
Yeah. So here.
to the blob you want to go to.
I mean, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but here, here are the commits. Well, Pocket only have one commit, but find a different project.
Because I know I've done that before, and it's something
Jeez. All right, so here I have 4 commits, right? If I want to come back to here, I reset to that number. That's like the unique identifier of that. I reset, and then I just basically pick up from there as if that's where I left off, and then I push again when I'm done working. It'll say like you're resetting from a different spot. Do you want to like get rid of all this stuff? And the answer is yes. And then at that point, it's like this never happened. That's it. So. Okay, very good. So, so this is behaving as you expect. Good. All right, nice. Okay, so all of our projects are now in a stable position. Again, we will be maintaining these projects as we build out more and more of the React code. So try to bring your project closer and closer to a real situation. Like, don't just set up something. I don't know if this has a real application purpose to it, but if not, like work on that during the week, and especially over next week during the Thanksgiving break. By the way, Thanksgiving week, Monday, Tuesday, that's it. So obviously no Thursday. So in other words, try to get these weekend projects to have some real application purpose to it. So like JD, yours is good. Because it clearly has a purpose. So the babysitting one, very good. Like clearly, this is like meant to find a babysitter and review them. The job search one, like try to make it a real application, okay? Because the idea is as we go through my class code, you're going to take those concepts and apply them to your project. Got it? So let me get rid of this. And that's why I want to see everyone's ideas over the weekend. Oh, why is this taking so long?
Are we going to get
Yeah, we're going back to yeah, I'm just having a hard time opening it. There we go. All right, going back to our project, get that up and running. Run the Webpack, run the Mongo, and let's pick up where we left off. Node mon. All right, so here's where we left off. I believe this is all hard-coded. I can't remember. Yeah, this is all hard-coded. So this is all static data that we installed into the templates, into the components. Excuse me. Looks like I forgot to fix this issue. Let's take care of that right now. It's a quick and easy one, so let's just go ahead and fix this. Okay. So we have zones and comments. So I thought I actually
They
did.
call it class added this. Because that was started last time, I think.
So I thought you fixed the key.
Yeah, I thought I fixed it too. Am I
Yeah,
am I
we
off on?
installed, like super agent and the constructor
Yeah.
and we did all the on-chain.
Oh, I downloaded from the wrong.
Had like a deja vu.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I thought we did fix this.
Thank you.
Damn it. All right, so that means I version controlled the wrong one entirely.
Do you want someone to email?
No, it's up here. I just picked the wrong one. Oh, there it is. Super agent. Okay, so this is the right one. Okay, let's start from here. There we go. I tried. Okay. Let's see. So we got this working. Let's try that right now. So east page, 1011. Getting an error right here. Zone.js line 8. Let's fix it.
Oh, maybe that's that string.
Yes. Oh, okay. I remember now. All right. So what we did is we had these coming from that temporary page. Yeah, so we created a zone here, and then we had it showing up over here. That's how we did it. In other words, we don't have the create zone functionality working here. We don't have that yet. So I assume that's where everyone else left off as well.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Do you think it wasn't just like an issue with plural versus singular for subcode and subcode? What was the issue?
In what?
Isn't this we're talking about line 8, which is the
Yeah, don't worry about it. This is where we should be. We didn't get the zone creation code happening on the React end yet. Okay. And let me just check the comments real quick. Okay, and the comments aren't loading from the server at all. Right, so here, if I create a comment, it should work. Is this thing, but it's not going to load, it's not going to go to the server. Right, okay. So if I reload, this won't show up. Good. So that's where we are. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off. Are we all together?
Mine does have comments. Like there are comments.
You gotta be assigned at the end of the class just to add the comments. So we did the zone, and we
Right.
yeah, so some of us might have it.
All right, well, let's do that right now. So component dig. So inside the comments container on the component dig mount, we're going to make an API request to our backend for the current comments, just like we did in the zones, right? So it's the same idea. So if we go to our zones, yeah, you do this. I didn't. So this was an assignment, meaning I'm behind you right now. So I just want to catch up. So all we got to do is make the same API request as we did in the zones. That's why I'm kind of doing it kind of fast. And inside the comments container, don't forget to import super agent, otherwise it won't work. Okay, and then here is the payload. It's always results, and then we set the status list, which is also what we have over here. So that should pretty much take care of that.
Yeah.
Comment. Putting both into comments.
Both of what?
He's catching on.
Yeah, just
Yeah, so now I have comments from the backend. So that takes care of that. So now we're all caught up.
I'm
So far so good.
still getting that error at least. So.
Oh, that's because the code base that I started with before was like 1 day off. So we go here.
Choose the other one that we just had that we haven't fixed yet. We haven't fixed that error.
Oh, yeah.
Unquote height 0.
The zones, right?
Yeah. Right. Oh, that right. Yeah. Just grab that first one.
Okay, sorry. This is
Yeah. No, for a second I was also this
Wait, are you gonna fix that? The zones?
Not right now.
Okay.
So, but are we all together? I mean, you should have been ahead of me until just now. So I'm essentially catching up to you. So basically, our zones are fetching from the API, as is our comments. So we have a successful API integration, at least for now. All right. All right. I want to do a little bit of reorganization on the file structure here now. The API calls are going to be pretty liberally used throughout the entire project. I'm guessing you figured that out by now. We're going to be doing quite a lot of this everywhere, right? Gets, posts, updates, like not just the get. We're going to be using the super agent all over the place. So whenever we have a situation like that where we have basically not the exact same code, but almost the exact same code, this should be extracted out to its own class, its own functional class, okay? This would be considered a utility class. So what you normally do is you go to your source directory and you create a utils directory. And inside that directory are going to go a collection of classes, files, that do a lot of just operations for us, heavily used, reused operations. API is the most important and most frequent one. So inside the utils directory, we want to create an API manager. So we want to write a class in here that will make all the API requests for us. And then we want to leverage that class throughout the project rather than super agent directly. Okay? Generally speaking, when you're importing a third-party module that does certain functions for us, like make API requests, you want to write a utility helper class for it. That's generally the case. So if I want to import another module that does web scraping for us, wherever I use that module, you generally want to use it as a utility class that you wrote in the utils directory. That's generally best practice. Okay? So we'll be using a handful of utility classes over and over again. So inside the API manager, this guy is just going to make all the API requests. So we need to import super agent. Since we're going to use this guy like all over the place, we have to write the export. And this guy is just going to make a series of functions that will call super agent for us. Basically, this is what we call a wrapper class. It wraps around the module. So we're going to write. That being said, the core functions are going to be HTTP request functions: get, post, put, and delete. So get, post, put. Because these are the kinds of HTTP requests that you can make. Okay, so far we're only using the get, right? So let's fill this guy out and then test it. So inside the get request, what do we need to run any get request? A path, a URL. That's one. What else do we need? Params, very good. And what do you think is the last thing I put in here? Callback, the completion. Not yet. Those are the arguments for our get. And then inside here is where we actually execute the super agent call. So you can just copy and paste it. But now let's go through this line by line to see what changes we got to make. So super agent we want to keep, and then the get command, what adjustments do I have to make here?
URL.
Yeah, instead of /API/zone, it's just URL. And what about here? What do I have to do? Line 8 is the params. It's always going to be JSON for us, so we leave that. Now what about here, line 12? How do I handle this?
Callback.
Callback, and then what? What do I put inside the callback?
The error comes first.
Error, and then
Response. Oh, no.
which one is it?
Hold on. If error, it's error, no.
Why would it be null?
Because no response.
There is no response. There's an error. So there is no response. And then all this stuff down here, what do I do? Get rid of it. Exactly. And instead, what do I do?
Response.
Very good. That's it. This whole process should start to feel pretty familiar. Right? This is conventional JavaScript. This is best practice. Now I'm going to make a small adjustment. This is a super agent thing.
You need to flip, call it no response.
Yeah, it's conventional until I get it wrong, right? So here, I'm going to make a small adjustment. You want to do response.body, because that's a super agent thing. Super agent gives you the response in the body object. Good? If you look at our API, our API also returns a confirmation key, which could be success or failure. Right? For example, if I make an API request for this specific zone right here, it'll give me success, right? That's what we want to see. If I mistype the ID, it'll give me failure. The confirmation is fail, right? You guys see that? This is our confirmation key. So in other words, this error right here doesn't handle all the possible errors. This is a very important distinction and very easy to misunderstand. From an API standpoint, from an HTTP standpoint, this was a successful request. You gave it a request to return data. Does that make sense? So as far as super agent is concerned, this is a clean run. We're in this block right here, even though the API returned failure. So here is what you have to be considerate of. This is a request failure, meaning the server might have failed, your Wi-Fi might be off, you might be getting rejected because you don't have authentication, things like that. That's a request failure right here, right? But this is an API failure, not a request failure. This is a successful request. So in other words, inside here, right here, we have to be considerate of API failures. Do you follow? So what I want to do is grab the confirmation. You see that? Now we're grabbing the confirmation from the API payload. And we have to cross-reference that before we say it's successful. In other words, this request has to pass two tests, test 1, test 2. Does that make sense? So if confirmation this is what we want to see. We want to see success. So if we don't see success, then it's obviously failure. So in this case, what should I do? Run the excuse me. Run the callback. And then what do I put in here? Sorry, JD?
Your own message, like errors.
Right, put in your own message, exactly. Or error object. So the error object, it's like that, with a message key. So here, we're creating our own error object, which only has one key, message. See that? How do I know that key is even a valid one? Because look, every time my API returns a failure, it returns a message key. Every single time, right? So we can just grab that message and throw it inside the object. And then this has to be null because there's no response. Good? So now this request is fully robust. It can handle all scenarios. Now we want to use this manager class to run the requests. So first thing I want to do is go back to the directory. Everyone do this with me. So go back to the directory.
In utils.
And then create an index.js. And then inside the index, we're going to import the API manager. And then we're going to export it like that. At first, it's like, this seems a little bit superfluous. Like, why do we write a whole nother class just to export one file? Because eventually the utils directory is going to be more than one file. So we're going to put all the other ones in here as well. Think of this as like a table of contents for the directory.
I got a question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between export and export default?
No major difference.
No major
Yeah.
difference.
You're just making a file that's similar to
Yeah.
what you do with index.js for the controller.
Yeah, that's all we're doing. Yeah. Good. Everyone with me? So now if I go back to my zones component, I no longer want to use superagent. I don't want to use it. We want to use our API manager class. So we import the API manager. My file path is off by 1. It's going to be like
It's
this.
double.
Yeah.
So we say import React, just the component module from React, and then this is kind of like backwards. What's the
So you can think of this index as like the entire library. Because we're going to add more to this, right? We don't want to import the entire library, though. We only want to import one submodule. In this case, there only is one submodule, so it seems a little redundant. Like, this seems like overkill. And for now, that's correct. But we're going to have like 5 or 6 in here soon. So then when you go back to here, excuse me, we don't want to import all 5 or 6 every single time. We want to just pick and choose which ones we want.
sorry? How's it different? I'm saying why is it different from the React one?
So here we're it's not different. It's actually the same thing. So in the React library, there's also an index where it denotes all the submodules. It just so happens we're also importing the entire library here as well. We technically don't need to do this because we're only using the component. So I don't know, maybe I'll start taking this out. Maybe not. But we're not using the entire React library, we're just using the component. So we're fundamentally doing the same thing. So now we want to use the API manager to make this request. Okay? So the request is called get. And we pass in the zone, the path, excuse me. We don't have a query parameter. And here's the callback function right here. And the callback takes 2 arguments. What are they?
Error and response.
Error and response. I'm going to call this results. It's a little bit more accurate in this context. And then inside here is where we do all the response handling, the results handling. So error handling, and then bind the results to the state on the success block. And then once you have that set up, get rid of all this. The whole idea is to replace this. Don't forget that. So I'm moving a little bit fast, but tell me if you don't catch anything. Now there's one thing here on line 22 that's not going to quite work. Who can catch it? Like this error object won't quite capture what we want.
Do you need to make it parallel?
No, that's fine. It's the same thing. It's hard to catch, but inside our API manager, the error has a message key. This is where the actual content of the error, like the actual what went wrong message is.
So we haven't written anything?
No, it's there. If it's there, it's gonna be something like this, not found. But right now, we won't physically see that message until we say, please show literally the message dot message. I'm in the wrong file. This one right here.
Oh,
Right.
Is our callback with message, the devalues message, responsibility message?
So this is where, remember I keep on saying these messages are written for you. This is where you're sending yourself that letter, right? Because if you can't read it, what the hell's the point, right? So if the message that you get here will be basically a note to yourself saying, hey, this is what you did wrong, which will make your debugging much easier, okay? So now we just test it, see if everything works.
Where does that message come
From that,
from? Wait, where does that come from?
the API. This is the API that we wrote, I think, on Monday of last week. So let's try it and see what happens. Perfect. Same thing right here. Basically nothing broke. Except my zones aren't showing up, so let's figure that out.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay, it's done. It's done.
I have that too.
Yeah, no, I got it too. It's my fault. This is my fault. It's definitely spoke too soon. So let's do a console log. All right, so here is the results console log I just put in. So evidently I returned the entire object, which is really what I should do. So this is my own silly mistake. Let's go back here. So this should have been response the whole time. And then we want response results like this, like that. You see what I did? Now we're back in business.
You're still getting that thing when you add the zone, right?
Come again?
You still get that error, the untype error, when you add the zone.
Yeah, we're not focusing. We're just getting the zone
Yeah,
right now.
I was just making.
Okay, so this is considered more organized code. This is considered better organization. Fair question is, why is that? So here, the word superation doesn't come up anywhere, right? We're using superation, but that word, the actual module, and over here, we should get rid of it. The actual module isn't referenced anywhere. We wrote an entire wrapper function around superation. The reason is that way, if we ever decide to change it, which I'm giving some real thought to, we might change it to Axios next week. I don't have to change anything in here. This does not change at all. You with me? All I gotta do is go to my API manager class. It might not be a small thing, but I can rewrite all of this using a different module. And then make sure these functions remain the same, but just access a new module. Okay? This is actually part of my assignment over the weekend for my contract, to literally do that. So if I didn't have an API manager class, then that would have been a nightmarish assignment. I'd still be working on it, right? Because I'd have to go through every single file, see where it's being used, and make sure all the changes are made adequately and whatnot. Whereas instead, all I have to do is go through one file. It was still a big, file, but just make all the changes in one file, and the rest of the project will just automatically update. Does that make sense? That's the idea behind this architecture. Good?
You just go through the logic again.
Of what?
No, I understand why you're doing it, just how it's working.
How it's. I'm sorry. What part?
How super agent is working literally in that via that utility.
Yeah. So we wrote a function right here called get. That function is defined over here. And inside here is where super agent does all of its stuff. That's all.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just want to go through the logic that's in there.
Yeah, it's what we had before. It's what you wrote over the weekend, right? You make a get request in the URL, pass in the parameters, and then run the callbacks. The only part that might be a little confusing is right here, line 16, 17, these 4 lines, right? And frankly, even if you didn't have this, it would still work. You just wouldn't be covering all your bases. Like this error will come up. In fact, I'll force it to happen at some point later today. But that's probably the only part that might be a little bit hard to catch. But otherwise, just if there's an error, run the callback with the error. Otherwise, run the callback with the success. That's basically it. So now, what do you think we want to do next? Yeah, just swing over to the other component and do the same thing. Okay. And then rerun the code, make sure everything still works, and so far so good. So far, you guys with me? All right. So now we want to use that API manager class for the other parts of the CRUD. Obviously, the post, right? We're only doing gets right now. Now it's time to deal with posting. So if we go back to our API manager class.
So this handles get file ID as well.
Oh yeah, we didn't even set up a call for that, so we should do that as well. At some point, we're going to have to do that. So in the post, what do we need to run a successful post request? So what do we need to run any request?
The path.
The URL, right? We'll always need that. What else do we need? This is for a post now, right? So what do we need to run a post? A body, yeah. The form parameters, the body. And then what else do we need? Callback. Always need a callback. Okay? And then we use super agent to actually execute the request. So let's do that. So it's almost the same as the get. These two lines are different, post and send, but the other two parts are the same. So we post to the URL. I think that's pretty obvious. And then we send the body. Here's where we actually send the post parameters. This is the most important part of the post. So this right here, line 29, that's where we're actually sending the package to the server. All right, that's the payload to the server. Keep forgetting it should be application. That's pretty much going to be the same every time. And then in the completion, takes an error and a response. And then inside the completion, we do what we always do. Check the error, parse out the error if there is one. Basically the same thing that we always do on a completion block. You guys with me? So you could pretty much copy and paste it. I know I'm trying to get away from this, but I'm really tired today. I'm going to cut myself a little bit of slack on this. So you can just run the same completion as before. Okay, how are we on this?
Just typing.
Okay. So now what that means is when we actually create the zone or the comment on the React component, we want to use this function to literally send it to the server. Does that make sense? That's the idea now. So I'm going to create a zone first. I'm going to create a zone down here using the API manager. So inside the zones component, that code is going to happen right here, right? Add zone. Right? And right now, these 4 lines, 1, 2, 3. Actually, right now, all I'm going to do is comment out these 4 lines, and that's it for now. Why? Because these 4 lines are adding the zone only to the local state. Actually, it's all 5 lines. So in other words, when we pressed the add zone button, it showed up, right? You remember that? It showed up. by virtue of this code right here. However, that's not good enough because it doesn't save to the database. So when you reload the page, it's gone. All right, so this is no longer sufficient for our purposes. So what we want to do is run the API call. Now real quick, before I forget, I'm just going to double check something. Okay, however, don't forget, our zip code object is a string right here. Right here it's a string. However, in the actual database, what is it?
It has an array.
It's an array called zip codes. Furthermore, it's not even called zip codes here, it's just called zip code. Right? So we have to do some pre-processing before we send it up. So what am I doing here? I'm making a copy. Just always make a copy. I'm going to take the copy and add a new property called zip codes. Notice it's called zip codes, not zip code. Good. And then we're going to assign it to zip code. Split. Because that's a string, we're going to split it by comma, which returns an array. And this has to be an array anyhow, so the data types match up.
And that's when you pass back as an object.
As an array.
Right above you have the curly braces, isn't that an object?
Where? What line number?
43.
So that's the original copy. So here we're making a copy, and then we're making adjustments to the copy. So what is the purpose of this maneuver? It's to take the string and convert it into an array, that's all. Because the backend is expecting an array. That's all. Okay? And then we send this guy up to the server. So that's an API call, API manager, and we call it post. And the post requires a path, a URL, parameters, and a callback. So what's the URL?
/API/zone.
What's the body?
Updated zone.
Yep, the updated zone. It's what we're sending to the server. Okay, remember, the body is just a package. Like, here's what you need, right? So updated zone, and then callback. So the callback, same as always, takes an error in response. Just error handling, and then so for now on the success, I'm just going to console log and that's it. Okay, there's going to be no React interaction, no updating of the DOM, nothing like that. I just want to see a console log saying whether or not it worked. So no matter what, I'm going to get either this or this. One of these two are going to run. Just the whole thing. It doesn't really matter right now. The idea is we want to see anything, like anything, right? So let's try it. So here, I'll put in East Village, 1.1.2, press add zone, internal server error. Okay, so the error ran. Let's figure this out.
Would it be the post route?
No, it's probably. I'm sure it's a careless mistake. Let me just find it.
Should they do anything with the state?
Look here. Let's see if.
No. We need a call to see that. Oh, yeah, we'll just do it. And that's how I can stuff.
Zip codes. All right, this is on the back end. If you go to your zone controller on the back end,
Because you've already done it. Or you have to.
yeah. So here we wrote this slight like helper function to account for the fact that the zip codes are not originally sent up as an array. Remember, we had a page. We created a page last week called where we had the zip codes in here, and it's just a bunch of zip codes with commas in between. So we wrote some code on the back end to cover for that. Like so, right? And on the front end, now that we're using React, the zip codes do not come up as a string; they come up as an array. Why is that? Because we just split it as an array on the React side, on the front end. It's already an array. So to do this, we're calling a function split on an array. That right here is where it was crashing, line 30. Unfortunately, it wasn't giving me good line numbers. It wasn't giving me any line numbers. It was just saying, no bueno.
Is it better to do it on the back?
Now that's the key question. Where should this happen? On the front end or the back end? So there are arguments on both sides. Here's why I do it on the front end on React. You want to think of this as a pure function. The function doesn't know that the front end is going to send a string with commas in it. It doesn't know that. It shouldn't know that. Whose responsibility is it to package the data accurately? The front end. If it's not doing that, then the front end needs to make the adjustment. The back end just takes what it takes. As far as the back end is concerned, this is supposed to be an array. So this is unnecessary like checking. If you're going to take it that far, you may as well do all these checks for every single property, right? So that would just be way too much code. That would be onerous. So the question is, whose responsibility is it? It's the front end. So in reality, we should have done that here as well using jQuery, but that's just not really worth it. It was just a temporary solution to a temporary problem. Now that we have React, we have solved that problem over here. This is supposed to be an array, so before we send it up, we turn it into an array. You see that?
Is that where you also trim? Or does that matter?
That's where all this should happen. So really, all that code where we format the data into proper like formatting in the back end, it really should happen here. And the back end should remain as pure as you can keep it. And the back end shouldn't be worried about trimming strings and comma-separated strings and things like that. That's all on the front end. So this is a more appropriate location for this.
I'm guessing we would have to do something like this in a lot of places. It's the sort of thing you extrapolate out to another kind of utility.
Oh yeah, sometimes. Yeah, depends on the situation, but yeah, sometimes. So I'm going to get rid of this now. And before I continue, who here got this working with me? Who here or who's together with me on this? Okay.
I'm not sure. You're able to submit and not have an error?
Yeah, but it doesn't actually load on the front end. All we get is this right here. That's all I wanted to see. So JD, remember when I said it doesn't really matter? I just want to see something. It took me that long just to see something. And now we can figure out like what to do with the results.
I'm still getting that error. Cannot read property user.
But are you seeing this guy right here? Let's take a look.
Yeah, I'm not just saying that. That was happening before. Just
Yeah.
disappeared.
Well, I do have a question. Maybe this could be the problem. Do you have a submit zone and an exit zone, or you're calling your submit zone? Okay.
Yes.
So then I guess I have to ask is how come here we're pushing to
So
Redux.
we should be. This shouldn't even exist anymore.
Oh.
But after these buckets, and make sure we copy that.
So the way we did it by doing it in the backend, is that how we should have been doing it?
No, it was a temporary solution to a temporary problem.
Can you look at
So the back end should be like as agnostic as possible. You should not expect strings that are malformatted. Like that should all be done with React.
I'm getting the string of 5 million and the split.
Does it work or just doing it also? Come on, knowledge sharing.
Yep, thanks,
Okay. So you see why like I don't go too far before testing, right? Like you really got to take it to heart. Today I'm kind of operating at a B- level, making a lot of mistakes because I'm really tired. But that's a good thing because you're seeing more mistakes. So you got to take it really slow. Like I said, like I didn't do any React processing here, no setting of state, no updating the list, none of that crap until I see that, right? So you really got to think that way. And as long as it takes, that's all it takes. Okay, so now that we finally see it, and here is the payload, right? We have the confirmation on the result, ID, timestamp, all that good stuff. Okay. So now a key question is, how do I get this payload showing up over here? So let's discuss that. Now we're back on the React side of things, right? So how can we get that new zone onto the list?
We could use the our response.
So here's the response right here. What should I do with it?
Grab the response.
Yep, right here. Here it is. Well, tell me what to do.
So yeah, you could discuss set state. And then your zone image or updated zone.
No, we're guessing. Don't guess. Now, remember I said let's get rid of this? Notice how I didn't actually get rid of it. Like, what are we doing down here in the previous code?
You make a copy of the state and then you do stuff with that.
Right. We care about updating the list. Right. So what do we have to do with the new zone in here? Add it to the list. So right here, line 53, what should I do first?
Updated list.
Yeah, we gotta create the updated list. Right? Because that's what we're about to update is the list. And what do we do with it? How?
Pushing that new thing into it,
So push what?
updating list, push, and then it would be updated zone.
Right, so we're trying to take what we have just put in, which is the body, whatever we're calling it, the response.
I console logged it for a reason.
Response.
The whole thing
Response not body.
Results.
doesn't have a body key.
It only has the name.
Ah,
and the
right.
zip
Response
codes,
dot zip code.
but it's zip code.
The zip code isn't the entire zone.
Oh, response dot result.
Why is it result?
Oh,
If that's
that's
what the
the
result
result
is.
key.
Yeah, that's the entire zone. That's the new zone. So you push in the response dot result. Now, Rob, you brought up an interesting question. Here, we could have done updated zone. And that will look like it worked. But why is this the better move?
It's generic.
That's two diametrically opposed things. So they couldn't be more opposite.
Direct.
Do we want a single?
So here, the updated zone. At that point, that variable, the new zone doesn't exist yet. It doesn't exist until we get it back from the API. The API is what decides what exists and what doesn't exist. Why is that? Because that's what's coming from the database.
Oh, because it's either it's created or doesn't.
This is not actually the zone.
Set the state before
This
it's-
is actually the zone. Now they're almost identical. But this is what we use to create the zone. This is the actual, literally the result.
Because if there was an error, there wouldn't be that
Yeah. Well, but I mean, we're past the error stage. Like we're in the success block, and the point is like these two objects are almost the same. They're off by just a couple values. The point is, which one is the real one? Well, you tell me which one is the real one.
One that's been processed by our API.
Correct. The result. The one that's been processed by the API. Exactly. That's why we want to shove in the result. And then what do I do to like finalize the change?
Set the state.
Set it how? Like what do I do here?
Just got set state.
All right, let's fire it off. Notice, by the way, when I reload, now the East Village is up there. And so if I do Midtown, I don't even know Midtown zip codes.
Oh, you can do 10001.
There it is.
So
Now keep in mind though, this is from the backend now. That's from the API. So if I reload the page, this should show up again.
It's persistent.
Yeah, it's persistent, exactly.
So what loads into zip code is an array when at that set state point in zones? That's what I'm confused.
Where?
Go up into your constructor function.
The constructor.
No, sorry. Yeah, constructor. So
The zone is made up of
like your zip code is not an array there, but what loads into that, the value for that is an array now?
It's a string. It's right there. It's a string, right? That's right. And it stays that way. So the question is,
But when we look at it in the console,
yeah, how is that done? How is that achieved?
I remember your function that was confused.
We have to convert it into an array,
Yeah.
which happens on line 43.
Mhm.
But that's where it's done.
That's the back.
Because in the back end,
Yeah, that I got. What's going into your front end when you do this dot set state?
Where? Give me line numbers. Like,
55, 56. When you update.
so that's going to be an array because this is from the server.
Okay.
This is another reason why we can't use updated zone. Actually, no, it still would have worked. Never mind. I retract that statement.
Got it.
But here, this is from the
Got it.
server, and the server returns an array. Did everyone here get this working? Okay. So what do you think the next objective is? Yeah, comments. So everyone get started on that now. We have 10 minutes or so left. Take the remaining time of class and try to get this plugged in with the API so that when you submit a comment, it actually hits the back end and then the front end reflects that as well. I think you might actually be able to do it in 7 minutes, so try it. So give it a shot.
6.